What's up to you all wonderful and awesome matriculants? Welcome to your favorite show where you learn more and learn extra. We're doing mathematical literacy. My name is Abram and today's teacher is Laura. Laura, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain. It's winter, hey? But I'm more relaxed and chilled. I know that it's going to be a fun lesson. Maths lit is one of my favorite subjects, so I'm going to learn a lot.
Oh, good. I think that's one of the most useful topics that we're dealing with today, because I think this is something that you probably would use on a regular basis. So hopefully we'll all learn something, even if you don't take maths lit, maybe.
Nice one. Well, I'll be open-minded to learn more, of course, and we'll share so much knowledge to everyone that is watching right now.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Nice. Before we get to it, let me tell them what they need to do.
Excellent.
Because we can't be doing the show just
just you and me.
No, we can't. We're going to open it to everyone. Guys, get your notes right now. Go to our website, which is learn.mindset.co.za. Or else, if you're struggling, ask me. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I'm on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/LearnExtra, XTRA. Or also follow us on Twitter @LearnExtra. Send through your questions and your comments. And I'd like you guys to also take our multiple choice questions on the 2Enable app. Simply register on www.enable.org. Register right now, and guys, take on those multiple choice questions. Over to you, Laura.
Oh, excellent. Thanks. Let's begin. Let's look at how we're going to revise finance. And we've selected a whole group of different exam questions from the last few exams in the last 12 months or so that we've got some fresh current caps assigned questions to look at, and we're going to look at some of them that I think will be very relevant to what you might see in your final papers or even some of your prelim papers. So let's have a quick look. We're going to start off with a question that's about your pay advice.
All right, Laura, if you can just come closer.
Sure. Yeah, I'm losing me off the screen. So we're going to look at pay advice, and I think that's a really nice one. Hopefully we're going to have lots of those in the future. So the first question, if we can get this thing to do. This is a question from the supplementary papers in March this year. And the question goes, Eunice is an employee at Emoya High School. Her daily working hours are from 7:30 to 1500 hours from Monday to Friday, and her total daily hours worked includes a 20-minute break and 45-minute lunch break. The following deductions are made from her gross monthly salary, and 7.5% of her gross monthly salary for pension fund contributions, UIF, unemployment insurance fund of 1% of her gross monthly salary, and PAYE as pay-as-you-earn tax as per the tax brackets. This is her salary advice received at the end of October 2013. So here we have a document that they've given us in the exam. We've got all the information that we've been told, and we now can analyze this. There's a few concepts that we need to understand, and I think that we need to start off by actually understanding some of the words that they use within this. There's a difference between gross salary and net salary. So let's have a look at these words, gross salary and net salary. Now, it's quite useful that we've actually got this on a payslip, because it actually helps us a little bit. We can actually then very clearly see that my gross salary happens before my deductions, and my net salary happens after my deductions. So it's very easy to see which one's which. Otherwise, I think that's something that you really just need to learn. So the first question that we're going to look at is define the concept gross salary. And as I've just said, the gross salary is this one that comes before the deduction. So this is what they earned before any tax or UIF or pension contributions get taken off. So that's what we're actually going to be looking at. So it says define the concept gross salary. So gross salary is basically your amount you're earning before any deductions. And some of the things that you might have deducted are things like UIF, your pension, and the other one that they gave us as an example was your tax. Very important one that we're going to look at a little bit more detail later. So your gross salary is before deductions. I think that even though it's not part of the questions, it would be a good idea maybe to make a note that net salary is obviously then after deductions. Okay, so those are the two key points of that question. Let's go on. Right, the next bit. Now just remember also that this is coming from a question 1 paper, which is usually the easier of the two papers. So these are very, very straightforward type questions, and I think that you need to realize that you will be asked some very straightforward questions. So don't be thrown by that, because sometimes some of you overthink the actual question because it seems just too easy. So just focus on what the question is and think, yes, it can be this easy because it is in question 1 of paper 1, so therefore it is supposed to be this easy. The next one says, calculate her housing allowance as a percentage of her gross salary. Remember, gross salary before deductions. So if you look at the information, this was given to us. There's a housing allowance of 500 Rand, and the gross salary is the number underneath it. So that's very handy so that we can find that information very easily. So as a percentage of, when you say as a percentage of, generally it would be something out of something else. So it'd be your housing allowance out of gross salary. And because they want it as a percentage, I need to times it by 100. I'm now going to take those values. It's going to be 500. And my gross salary in this situation is 7,952 times 100. And then it's a very good idea to get out my calculator. And we're now just going to pull it up so I can see the numbers. There's two ways of doing it. You can either say that you're going to say 500 divided by the 7,952 and then times it by 100, or you can actually write it as a fraction into your calculator if you're lucky enough to have a calculator that does it as a fraction. I'm just going to do it like this so it looks like what I've actually typed in before. And it's going to be 7,952, and then I need to times by 100 and push equals. Now that's not really a number that I like, so I need to push that S to D button and get an answer of 6,2. Oh, sorry. Pushing all the wrong buttons here. 6,2877. Now generally speaking, your exam paper at the beginning will tell you that you need to put it's to 2 decimal places unless they otherwise state. So it's approximately 6,29% to 2 decimal places. So please round that. Let's go on and see what the next exciting part of this question is. Right, now they say show how her pension fund contribution is this amount and how they calculated it. So they've actually told you what the answer is. They've told you that this is what you need to get as your final answer. So you need to show that 7.5% of, it says her gross monthly salary, and I've got that information from the very beginning of this question where it says 7.5% of her gross monthly salary is for her pension fund. So we need to find out what our gross monthly salary is, and it's this amount, the 7952. So 7.5% of 7952. And what we need to realize is that if I don't have a scientific calculator, that's the word I'm trying to say, you might not have the facility where you can actually type it in with a percentage sign. So, for example, in this calculator, I can type in 7.5 and put in a percentage sign times, because of always is times, 7952, and I will get the answer of 569.4, as you can see on my calculator. Please note that calculators don't give rounded to 2 decimal places, but money is 2 decimal places. So if I wrote, as it is on this calculator, of 569.4, I would actually not get it correct, because money needs to have 2 decimal places. So in my answer, I actually need to make sure it says 40. So that's the question part that you might actually stumble on. That is true because now I've shown how I got that. I would like to just go back and explain that if I didn't have a percentage sign that I could type in, because I'm not using a scientific calculator, 7.5% actually could be written as 7.5 out of 100, which means that I would type in on my calculator, instead of the 7.5%, I'm just going to go back here, I'm going to divide it by 100 and then times it by this 7952, so that I actually will get exactly the same answer. And on a more basic calculator, you wouldn't actually even have to push the S to D button there. So it will automatically give you the answer. So just please note that if I don't have a calculator that's got a percentage sign, I need to then divide that by 100. And the other thing to remember is money has 2 decimal places. So make sure that you write it with 2 decimal places, otherwise it could be incorrect. Right, the next part. Write down the pension fund contribution she has made thus far for the current tax year. Now, again, this is where I'm talking about it could be an easier than normal situation. Does that look like you've got to do anything? It's worth 2 marks, but as far as I can see, all you need to do is actually look at your information that's given to you and actually find out what is your pension fund contribution as far as she has contributed this year. So total pension fund contribution this year is this amount over here. So all I need to do then is write down that number, 5981,67. Again, it's not that difficult, so please just make sure that you're not overthinking it. It is just looking for information and showing that you are able to actually read information off a table, off a graph, etc. Okay, and then the last bit of this question is calculate the missing value A. Now I've just cut this out of the actual payslip because this is what it looks like on the payslip. So it's this piece over here that I've just pushed down over here so that I can write all over it and it makes a little bit of sense. So it tells you that you're getting paid, sorry, this is how many hours you've got, is 172.5. You need to find out what you're getting paid per hour. So this is what we're looking for, and this is what the total is. Hopefully you'd be able to tell me, if I knew what the hourly rate was and I didn't know what this number was, I would be timesing those 2 numbers together. So now that I know what the answer is, I need to almost go backwards. So if I've got this amount and I've worked that many hours, if I divide them, I should be able to work out what my daily or my hourly rate is, should I say. So we can then say 7452 divided by 172,5. The way to remember that is basically that you're sharing this money between the number of hours that you are actually working. So you can then find out how many hours you actually worked. So let's clear here. And I'm going to type in 7452 divided by 172.5. And it comes up with 43,2. I'm just going to write that here. Okay, so that's what my calculator said. Remember again, that money, again, should have 2 decimal places. So it's not comma 2, it's actually 20 cents that you actually are earning. So you're earning a rate of 43 Rand and 20 cents. And so that's how much you would be earning. Also remember that this comma 5 here means that it was 172.5 hours, because comma 5 is obviously half of an hour.
All right.
How are you going?
Okay,
excellent.
And as you've promised, we are certainly learning so much.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and we can apply this in real life. I think that's what mathematical literacy is all about as well.
It definitely is, yeah.
Right. Guys, do stay tuned, and if you have some questions on finance, make sure that you send them through to us on our Facebook page. And remember to register on the 2Enable app. Simply go to www.2enable.org. See you after this. Welcome back, guys. You're still watching our winter school exam revision, proudly brought to you by the MTN SA Foundation, and we're so grateful for the support and the love they're giving us. Right, if you're still struggling, we're here to assist you. Go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/LearnExtra, or tweet me at LearnExtra. We're here to help you guys. Laura?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to some feedback, because I think this is quite a useful topic, and I think that lots of people should actually be looking a little bit more closely at some of these details.
Of course.
We're now going on to a bit more of the boring side of, well, not boring, but the horrible side, where we looked at our pay slips, and now we're going to look at the tax man side of it. So this is where we start giving our money back, which is not a great idea. But anyway, let's make sure that he's not cheating us. So let's understand this properly now.
Who's owing who?
Yeah, I hope not. Okay, so let's just read this question. This is an exam question from last year's exam paper. This is now from paper 2. So paper 2 indicates that it probably is a little bit more on the trying side. So we need to read a little bit more carefully. And I think that sometimes in maths literacy, that is half the problem. It's the reading. And I think that if we just had the sums, it would have probably been a whole lot easier. But actually, we need to read very carefully to make sure we're understanding what they're asking us and what the information is that they've given us. So let's have a look at this question. Mr. Fortune is 40 years old, and he receives a basic monthly salary of 20,416 Rand and 67 cents, with an annual bonus equal to his basic monthly salary. And his gross, remember we've just spoken about gross annual income, which is the one before any deductions, is for this tax year is made up of his basic salary and the bonus. So his gross monthly income is both monthly and bonus. So what we basically have got, if you understand that correctly, is that this amount over here, if we times it by 13, will be how much he actually earns for the whole year, because there's 12 months in the year, and then obviously the bonus is the next month as well. So let's have a quick look at the next bit. He contributes 6% of his basic salary towards the pension fund. So 6% is a key number there. But no pension contributions are deducted from his annual bonus. So his pension fund is only for 12 months. That's the key we need to make a little note to ourselves so that we remember that when we need to use that information. The following table from the annual income tax deductions for individuals and special trusts from 2013 to 2014 tax year is issued by Mr. Fortune, and the candidate is income tax payable to SARS. Okay, so this is a tax table that we've seen lots of those before. The key things that we need to remember is rebates. Because Mr. Fortune is 40 years old, he doesn't qualify for these two rebates. So we just need to focus on this amount over here for when we're looking at rebates later. And the other part that we need to note, and that was very kind of them to offer this information, is that the annual income tax is calculated on his income after his pension contribution. So after is the key word there. Income tax is payable on his annual bonus, so he does have to pay tax on his annual bonus, and that's spread out over the 12 months. So we work out this total, and then he would actually then get his annual bonus amounts at the end. Right, so let's have a look at the questions, which I think are on the next page. Calculate his gross annual income. So as we said before, gross annual income is the amounts that you actually are earning before tax and any other deductions. So we're going to quickly look back at what his salary was. It's 20,416. I don't know why they don't make it nice numbers. Oh, and now to put the pen on. 20,416 and 67 cents. And remember, this was for 12 months plus his bonus. So I'm going to just times it by 12 so that we know that that's for his normal income, and then his bonus, which is going to be the same amount, which is the 20,416 and 67 cents. Okay, so that's basically all we need to do. We're going to type this into our calculator. Clear it of anything that we have done before. So 20,416 and 67 cents. Don't forget to add the cents, otherwise your numbers will be slightly out and then you've lost your accuracy. And then we're going to add on the 20,416 and 67 cents. Remember, you can do that times 13 if that makes life easier for yourself. And so that you can actually just do it all in one step instead of going backwards and forwards. Sometimes going in one step is actually easier because then you don't have to have accuracy errors. Okay, so that should be his gross annual income. Now the next question actually then relies on this information because it's now asking us, where's the next part of the question? Oh, it must be further down, sorry. Use the annual income table to calculate his annual income tax payable for the year ending the 28th February 2014. Now, we've worked out his gross annual income, but if you remember in the tax table, it tells us that his tax is calculated on his income after his pension contributions have been deducted. Okay, so we need to actually take off his pension deductions before we can actually do anything else. So let's do that. His pension contributions. So we've got his annual salary, which we just worked out. Pity my memory's not that great. And 416.71. Okay, so that's his annual income. We now need to work out his pension contributions. That information was given us at the beginning here. It's 6% of his basic monthly salary. So that's before the amounts that his annual bonus was added onto. So that's going to be his 20,416,67 times 12, and then his pension was 6% of this. Am I correct? Okay, so that's what we need to work out. We need to work out 6% of his annual salary, remembering that we actually then don't use what his annual income is, because this includes his bonus. And his pension doesn't actually include his bonus. So we need to take that off before we actually work out his tax. So let's do the sum. 416.62 times 12. I'm actually going to put this in brackets so that it works that part out. And then I'm going to times this by 6%. Remembering, if you don't have a calculator that has a percentage sign, you need to actually remember that you need to say 6 divided by 100 so that you can work out what 6% is. And so his pension is going to be 14,699 Rand and 97 cents. So that's his annual pension contributions. This is how much he's earned within the year, because that includes his bonus, and then you need to take off his pension contributions before you can actually work out what his tax is going to be. So we're going to take this 265,416,71, take off your pension, which is the 14,699,97, and you should get an answer. 265,416,71 minus, I'm going to cheat and use the answer button, but you could type in that whole number, and you get an answer of 250,716 and 74 cents. Okay, so this is his taxable income. I now need to go back and look at the tax tables and decide which bracket does this fall into. So let's go back to the previous page. 250,000. Which bracket does this fall into? Do you notice?
Well, I can't see from where I'm sitting.
Oh, sure.
I'll look at my notes.
You better. I hope you're following. So it's in this bracket over here. So it's the 250,000 falls into this group over here. So this is what we're going to use as our bracket. I think I'm just going to do it on the side here, so that's actually probably easier, so that we can actually see it as I'm working it out. So we're going to use this part over here, which is in the second bracket. It's going to be 29,808 plus 25% of the amount above. Now, this is where most of you get this part wrong. Please, can you just focus on what you need to find out? You want to find out how much it is above the bracket amount. So the bracket amount is the 165,000. And you need to find out how much more did he earn than the 165,000. So let's go back to our question and work out how much was his taxable income. And that's 250,716 and 74 cents. And you need to take off this bracket amount, which is 165,600. So you always subtract these numbers. So the first number should be his taxable income. And this number, the second number that you're taking away, is from the table. So our answer is going to be this 29,808 plus 25% of those two numbers taken away. So we're going to need to get out our calculator. Leave. Fortunately, we've got that number in there still, so I'm just going to take away the bracket, which is 165,600. So the amount that we're going to be working out here is 85,116,74. So again, I'm going to now type that into my calculator. I need to find 25% of this. That's not what I wanted. Times the 85,116,74. And I need to then also add on this amount here, that 29,808. So that's what my amount is. I'm going to flick back to this screen so I can just write it down so that we can use that. But this is how much it is, the 51,087 and 19 cents. But just remember that that is before the rebate. We actually need to still take this rebate off. So we need to work out how much that rebate is, how much it is that he needs to pay as his tax altogether. So we need to take it off that 51,000 there. So let's just go to the next page. We've got a bit more space. So his tax is going to be $51,087, comma 19 minus the rebates, which is 12,080 rand. Go back to our calculator. 12,080 rand. And this is how much tax he has to pay for the whole year. 39,007 rand and 19 cents. So what we need to realize then, let's go back and check we've answered actually the question that we've been supposed to be answering. It says, use the annual income table to calculate his annual income tax payable for the year. So this would be his annual amount. So can we go through that very carefully, what we needed to do? So the steps we needed to follow were the following. First of all, we had to work out how much money he actually earned within that whole year. We had to work out that including his bonus, so that was basically 13 months that he was earning this money. You had to then, after you'd worked out what his annual salary was, you needed to take off his pension. His pension was not part of his taxable salary, so therefore you actually needed to take that off before you actually could work out what you were going to be charging him for tax. So you had your net salary, your gross salary, less your pension. You then used your tax tables to work out which bracket he was in, and you then calculated how much he needed to pay in his tax. Now this is an annual tax, so therefore his annual tax is what is payable over the whole year. So the next part of the question...
I think we should take an
Okay, sure.
break and then we'll come back to it.
Excellent,
Right,
thanks.
guys, I think you deserve a break and we'll see you right after it.
Excellent, thanks.
Welcome back, guys. I hope you're still tuned in and learning more and learning extra with us. I know it's very cold, but I know that it's warm because Laura is making everything simple for us. Make sure that you do answer the multiple choice questions that we have for you on the 2Enable app. Simply register by going to www.2enable.org. If you're struggling, I'm here to assist you. Go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/learnextra. Otherwise, Laura, back to you.
Excellent, thanks. We're going to just quickly finish off this question, and then I think we're going to go on to some multiple choice. So maybe they can actually get on and try and answer some of those questions so that we can see how they're thinking.
Awesome, yeah.
Excellent. Right, the last part of this one is that they needed to find out the net monthly salary, and only income tax pension deductions are considered. Obviously, in the real world, we don't just have those types of things taken off. Obviously, things like medical aid and any loans that you've taken from the company or anything else like that could actually be taken off as well. So what they're asking us to focus on is our income tax and pension. So in order to work out our monthly, remember it says monthly salary, it would be your monthly salary obviously minus your pension for the month. Hopefully you know that at this point, to find out a monthly salary or monthly anything, you divide by 12. So you take your whole pension for the whole 12 months and divide it by 12. And then also I would take off my tax, which is going to also be divided by 12, because obviously this is an annual tax. So that's how you would work that out. I think we're going to leave it there because I think that you are all very capable of working this out by yourselves. So I'd like to go on and look at some multiple choice questions. If you want to try and interact with us, that's wonderful. Otherwise, just have a look and test yourselves and see if you're making these silly mistakes as well. Because I've tried to choose quite a few questions that are questions that most people make silly mistakes with or get tricked just because they're just too easy. So let's have a look. Okay, the first one is looking at converting money. Leah converts 3,000 Rand into euros. How many euro does she have? So the exchange rate is given to us. 1 euro is 13 Rand 60. And what we need to do, I always like writing it as a ratio. So I've been given 1 euro is equal to 13 Rand 60. And if I've got 3,000 Rand, I put it under the rands because the rands need to be together. And I'm looking for how many euros. That's not the best E here. This should be an E for euros. So we're looking for how many euros I'd get from my 3,000 Rand. So I would take my 3,000. It's always a good idea to understand that once I've put my ratio in like this, I can divide up and times it down, and I will then get my missing value. So I say 3,000. And I'm going to divide it by 13 Rand 60, and I'm going to times it by 1. And that means I'm going to have 220 euros and 59 cents. Now, hopefully some of you haven't made any silly mistakes, and you've also got that C is the correct answer. Did you get that?
I was working on it.
Need to work a little bit quicker. Let's go on. Right, the next one. The price of a computer is advertised at 550 Rand, excluding VAT. Now, this is where a lot of you make silly mistakes because you're not sure whether you're supposed to be adding the VAT on or taking it off. Excluding means without VAT. So, unless you are a company, you would need to add the VAT on. The current VAT rate in South Africa is 14%, which is something that you are expected to know. So you would then find out what 14% of this is. So you then do the sum 14% of 550 Rand sorry, 5,500 Rand, should I say. And then I need to then add it on to the original, because it says how much will you pay for this item. It doesn't ask you how much VAT is it for this item, it's how much will you pay. Okay, so you need to find the total, including VAT. Okay, so I'm going to find out this amount, and then I'm going to add on the 5500. So it's always a good idea to actually have a look at your answers. So this isn't a possible answer because that's probably what our VAT is, and actually I'll tell you a secret, it is. So this would be my 770. And if I add those two numbers together, you'll then find that my answer should be D, which is the 6270. Hopefully that was a nice easy one for you, because I think that that's one that you actually do see quite a few times, especially in paper one. This is a common paper one question. The next question is the one that catches you often. So please just focus on this and understand how we would think this one through. Okay, this one, they tell you that this is the price including VAT, is this amount over here. Now let's understand what that is. It means that you've bought an item, so that's the cost. I've then added on the VAT, which is 14% of that cost that I originally bought it at. So I could almost say that that's 100%, and that's 14%. So my overall, including VAT, is 114%. They want you to calculate the price of an item excluding VAT. Now, generally speaking, what most learners do is they say, oh, excluding VAT means take off the VAT. And that's what most of you would love to do. Unfortunately, if I find 14% of the total amount, including the VAT, and take it off, it's not actually going to give me back to what my original price is, because I found 14% of a much bigger number. So I need to find a way in order to take off the VAT and bring it back to what its original is without actually minusing anything off it. So what I think we need to understand the most is that this amount, including VAT, is 114%. I now need to go back to the price excluding VAT, which is basically what it was at the beginning, which is this 100%. I think let's change colors so we can see what we're actually doing on top here. So what I want to do is I want to find out this value over here. So the best way, I think, of doing this is to actually say my original price, including the VAT, is a 6578,94. And I'm again going to write it as a ratio, is 114%. Let me go back and write that clearly so that you can see it properly. 6578,94, and that's 114%. I now want to go back to my original price, which is 100%. And again, my favorite method is that I divide up and times it down. So that I'd say on my calculator, 100 divided by 114 and times it by my original amount, which is the 6578.94. Oh, doesn't like that. Maybe it's because I've got divide and a times together there. And push equals. And it gives me a number of 57700, which is going to be that answer there. So that would be my answer. Now, obviously, with a multiple choice, they've given you all the possible things that you would have done, like finding the 14%, etc. So you should have found your answer there, but just be careful. Make sure that you are actually finding 100% of the 114%. That's what you actually need to find out. How are we going there?
You're doing well.
Oh, good. Haven't fallen asleep yet?
No. I'm working through.
Excellent. All right, excellent. The next one is also another one. Often it's not seen as a multiple choice type question. You would actually see this probably where they're giving you two items and they say which is the cheapest combination or which is the most expensive. And you then need to find out if I had bought a bigger block of cheese or a smaller block of cheese or a bigger box of washing powder or a smaller box of washing powder, which would be the most economical. So this question comes up quite a lot. You need to know how to actually compare the prices. Again, it's best to find out what you actually are finding. This one is just looking at how you can find out what the cost of a bigger block of cheese is so that you can actually then compare it. Obviously, this is still the same price, so it's not actually the same as comparing prices. So let's have a look. Again, my favorite way of doing this is a ratio, so I'm going to write it as 500 grams is the same as 39 Rand 99. And if I'd bought a 650 grams of cheese, how much would have that cost me? And so I'm looking for this value here. So again, always start where you're looking for the things and divide up and times it down. And you then would type in those values. Looking at these, obviously, if I'm looking for a bigger amount, we know that it's not going to be one of the small values because we obviously have got more cheese, so therefore I'm expecting it to cost a little bit more. So I'm now looking to see how much more is it going to cost me. Again, getting out my calculator. It's always a good idea to do it on your calculator because, especially in exam situations, you actually are always a little bit more nervous and you're likely to make careless errors if you try and do things in your head. So my answer is 51 Rand and 99 cents if I round it to 2 decimal places. 51 Rand, 99 cents. Oh, look, there it is. That's number B. Excellent. So we carry on with some multiple choice, or do you think we should try and do an extra question?
We can do an extra question.
Okay, let's go back to the other questions then. Let's go on to question number 3. Okay, so we've got a man. I'm just going to abbreviate a little bit so that I'm sure you can read the question if you've got it in front of you. A man wants to take out a loan. He wants to buy a laptop for 9,247 Rand 95 cents. And he's now taking out a personal loan. He's decided to take out a loan for 10,000 Rand and repay it over 3 years. And I need to work out the total monthly amounts he would pay for this loan. So the monthly amount is basically looking at if it's 3 years, if it's 12 months, this is obviously 1 year. 2 years for 24 months, 3 years for 36 months, etc. So we know that we want to go for 36 months, so it's going to be there, and 10,000 Rand is how much he's borrowed. So this is his monthly repayments. That's just for the loan though. Underneath here it also says his monthly repayments excludes a service fee of 75 Rand per month, and a monthly balance protection insurance of 20 Rand 50 per month. There is an initiation fee as well that he obviously would need to pay at the beginning, but we're not dealing with that at this moment because he just wants to find out his monthly amount that he's going to have to pay. So it's going to be basically this number, the 764 Rand and 74 cents. Plus the 75 Rand monthly service charge and the 20 Rand 50 for the insurance. this is always why it's a good idea to read the small print when you take out any of these loans, because obviously an extra 95 Rand 50 is also going to mean that it might not be as affordable as you thought it would be when you first took it out. So 764 and 84 cents. Come on, calculator. Plus the 75 Rand. Plus the 20 Rand and 50 cents. Means that every month he's got to pay. That doesn't look right. Where have I gone wrong? I've typed in something wrong here. I forgot to put in a decimal place, I think. It's always a good idea to actually check that you haven't done something silly, and also there's a 0 missing over here, which also is making this incorrect. Oh, come on. So it's always a good idea that when you don't get an answer that you expect, to always go back and check that it actually should be round about what you're expecting. I'm not expecting something to be in the thousands when I've only got 764 Rand a month that I'm paying. So it's 860 Rand and 34 cents. So that would be his monthly charge. The next question, I'm going to leave that one out. Let's go on to the next one. I'm going backwards instead of forwards. It's how much is the total interest that he's paying. Now, we've just worked out that we actually have 800 and something Rand that we're paying per month. But just remember, when I'm looking at how much interest he paid, we're not going to be including all those extra charges. I just wanted to find out how much interest is what he's actually earning. So at the end of the 3 years, I would have paid a certain amount every single month, and over that period of time, they would have whatever I paid per month for that loan, times it by 36, and then I would work out that minus my original amount, which is 10,000 Rand, to work out how much interest I have paid. And so you would then have taken the 700, this month here, times it by 36, and then minused off the 10,000 Rand at the end. So I think that that's basically, I don't think we need to do that. I think we can all figure that one out ourselves.
Of course. Well, also because of time, we just have to wrap
Excellent.
up. But thank you so much. It's been a great lesson, and I hope
Excellent,
the matriculants are learning more and learning extra with this. And I do encourage them that if they're struggling, they must let us know. We're here to assist them.
Excellent. And I think that what they need to realize is that this goes faster if you're actually doing it. So I think that hopefully you've all been doing it along with us so that you can actually learn more.
Of course.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Laura, and thank you guys for watching, and thank you to everybody that made the show possible, especially MT and SA Foundation. We love you guys. For more information about winter school exam revision shows, go to our website and Facebook page. Peace.